All right there. So now I'm going to go after the knobs. I'm going to make one of the knobs, and because they both look the exact same, once I have one knob made and painted, then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just clone it. So here we go. Looking at that, we're going to have two of them. They're going to fill in this space right here, in this area right here. So I'm going to switch to the front viewport so I can, see that front face more clearly right here. And I'm going to build this as using a cylinder. Start off with as a cylinder. So I'm just going to kind of click and drag that out and get to the move tool and just kind of move this just generally into a position of where I think I'm going to have it. Later I'm going to clone one. Later I'm going to so I can't see it in there. I don't know why. I'll show you in a little bit. Should be no clones in there now. So this one, we're going to switch to the modify tab and we're going to call this a knob. And at the moment, the knob is inside the TV. So I'm going to grab it and push it. There we go, through the front of the TV. In fact, I'm going to push it out of the TV. It's way too big. Also, we don't need all those height segments. We only need one height segment, and it's way too big. I'm going to bring its height down significantly. Now let me zoom in on this and come around here. And then when I go and I sink this into the face of the TV, there we go. It's sunk into the face of the TV. Still pretty tall here. So I'm going to go with a nice round 0.5 centimeters. And then I can adjust this part, maybe even, geez, it still looks too thick. Maybe 0.3 centimeters. That's a little better. Okay, good. Now, I'm going to refer back to the image here. So this looks like it's got a black edge to it that almost looks like it's like flush against the television, and it is even kind of rounded here on the edge all the way around. And so I wonder if it might not be a better idea for me to make this instead of making it a cylinder because it is rounded on the edges. Oh, let's see if I can pull off rounding the edges, just myself. Let me change to the select tool, looking at how that's looking. Okay, it's sticking out of there about right. I'm going to go ahead and convert my knob into an editable poly. And now it is an editable poly. It's made out of some, it's got that nice big gigantic cap on the end right there. We'll be dealing with that later. But what I really want to look at here is I'd like to see if I can double click and let's see. It did not. It just has one edge selected. Let me see. Ring. Nope, that didn't do. Two edges. So let me just click off and click back on just one edge, edge 24 selected. Let's see. Ring didn't work. What about loop? Loop didn't work. So I want to grab all these edges here. And so I guess I'll just do it by brute force. I'm just mousing over them and selecting them one at a time. Mouse the window around here. I want to get all the edges around. There we go. And then let's see. Can I camfer this? And yes, it camfered the living daylights out of it. Let me put in like four camfer segments, and then let me run this up a little bit. There we go. Yeah. So that's looking pretty nice right there. It's got a nice little rounded effect to the edge. Very nice little rounded effect to the edge. So I selected all those edges, put the camfer on it, and I got a number here. I can go with like 0.12 to keep it nice and round with four edges, and I'll click the green button. And I'm off to a good start here. I've got the rounded quality to it. Let me change to perspective and zoom on this. There we go. I was working in orthographic. That can be dangerous. Be careful about working in orthographic. But that looks nice. I like that. Okay, so let me quit pat myself on the back. Now that I've done that, I need to and that those edges themselves are um I want them all to be able to be painted black. And I'm not going to do anything else to all those edges. Um, let's come back here. Let me right click and I want to hide anything that's not selected. So that's just going to leave just this thing in there. And I don't like that color. That color is not helping me at all. So I'll just give it a nice shade here. I can see the top. So I want to get all the polygons except for the very top one. So I'm going to select them all, hold down my Alt key, and just click on the top polygon. That means I don't have that top polygon selected. And I'm going to create a selection set, which I will call Edge Button, Edge of Knob. Go Edge of Knob. Hit the Enter key. And then I'm going to select this polygon that's right here in the middle. And we don't want to create a selection set for that because this is where we're going to start to make our knob. So I've got that selection set. There's going to be a space here that's going to come in. We can see here that's like kind of silver and then into a black region, but it all looks pretty flat there. It all looks like it's just kind of just coming in slowly. Once we get to this middle area, it is sloping up. Definitely it's sloping up, so we're going to have to handle that sloping up. And I'm going to build this little this part down the middle. I'm going to build that separate. I'm going to also build all the little tick marks. I'm going to build all the little tick marks separate. So this button is going to be one of the easier buttons to build. With that polygon selected right there in the middle, I'm going to click on the Inset menu, and whoa, 1 is way too much. Let's run that back to about, let's make it a nice round 0.1. 0.15. Yeah, I'm okay with 0.15. I'll click the check mark on that 0.15. And then what I'd like to get here is I would like to now select all of these polygons that I just made. Later, I'm going to want to paint all of these polygons. And if I selected this just right, I should have 18 of them going around. I shouldn't have any other polygon selected, but just that ring on the face. And let's see here. That's so we'll call this one outer silver ring. So the outer silver ring. Now, back on this polygon right here. Look at our reference image. Now we need to inset again coming in, and we're going to call this the inner black ring. So I'm going to click on that inset tool again, but this time we're going to run it up a little bit because that's coming in. It's coming in a ways. Let's take a look at my reference image and see how I'm feeling. Too far. Man, I'd like to keep that image right there if I could. Let me. There we go. Nice. Now I can see more clearly. Okay. And let's bring this down. About right there. I'm okay with that. So about 0.6. That'll work. A little check mark. Now, these polygons are going to get painted black that I just created. So let me go through and select them. Should have 18 polygons selected again. My selection set for this is going to be the inner black ring. Inner black ring. Now from there, I'm going to have this silverish ring. Now this is going to be a bevel here. This is what bevel was made for. This little part right here. I'm going to apply the bevel tool now to this polygon right here. So I'm going to turn on the bevel tool, and of course it does outrageous beveling. So let's first we'll push it out a little bit, and that's good. And then we'll bring the bevel. Oh, I'm changing the height. Yeah, so I want the bevel height, and now the bevel amount. Bring that down, and about down to about. How do I feel about that? And that's still pretty high. Yeah, bringing that down. So the bevel height, I'm going to set the bevel height at about 0.5 centimeters, and the bevel outline, I'm going to set that to negative zero point 0.7. And I'll be pretty happy with those numbers. Take that, right click to in that tool. So I'm done with the bevel, and it's looking pretty good here. Now, this part that's beveled, I do want that polygon, and I'm also going to need, and let me make sure that ignore back facing is checked. Check ignore back facing. I'm going to hold down my control key and just draw a little box like this. That's going to select all those polygons, and with ignore back facing selected, I don't get any other stuff that I don't want. And this part's going to be called over here in the creating a selection set, and I can stretch this back out now. Um, and it is kind of a similar silver to that one right there. So I'm going to call this selection set inner silver ring. So now with these selection sets, I've got, I've got the edge of my knob right there. I've got my inner black ring. I've got my inner silver ring. I've got my outer silver ring. I'll be able to paint all those individual parts of the editable poly. All right. So let me go ahead and get the material editor up, and let me go ahead and paint those things. So let's see. For my silver, I'm just going to go ahead and use that grill material that I made. So I'm going to drop that in there for the grill, and let me see here what it's looking like. Yeah. All right. Got the grill. Um, and then for the black, for the edge of the knob, which I am going to paint black, I'm going to apply this material, the black material to it, and I can see how that's coming along. Yep, there we go. And then to the inner silver ring, I'll apply that material. And to the inner black ring, I'm going to apply the black material. And now if I render this, all right, it's beginning to look a lot like a button. Kind of purplish. My dark material is definitely a dark purple. All right. Now that I've got that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to right click and I'm going to unhide all and see how this is looking, against the backdrop of my TV. And it looks kind of like that button. Now, it's got a couple things about it that doesn't look right. I don't have the little bar going through the middle, and I don't have all the little tick marks, which there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 total tick marks. So I'm going to make one, and then I'm going to clone out 11 more. And then we'll have to do a little math here. It should be pretty easy. And then you'll be amazed how that's going to work. All right. I'm going to right click and hide unselected, which makes the TV go away again. And now I'm going to temporarily move the knob. I'm going to temporarily move the knob um, to the origin. So I'm going to get the move tool and turn off polygons. So I'm moving the entire thing. I don't have anything selected. Turned off the polygons. And I'm going to right click the spinners and go ahead and put this knob down at 0, 0, 0. And I'm going to zoom on it, get the rotate tool back out, and I want to also lay it back down flat. So I'm going to rotate it exactly 90 degrees and rotate it back down to flat. So now this thing is centered right over the origin, right over 0, 0, 0, the center of space, because we're going to take advantage of that. Now I need to build one of these little boxes. I'm going to build a box basically. I'm going to use a box, and it's going to be a very tiny little box to be the tick mark. And there I've got one of them built, and I'll just call this tick mark 1. All right, so that's tick mark 1, and I'm going to get the move tool, and I'm going to move it over here and move it over there and see, can I see it? Nope, I can't. Let's move it up. There, zoom in on it, and there it is. It's sticking through. and move that back. And then let's take a look at the reference image again. Looks like they're kind of rounded. They're kind of rounded on the edges and the corners. So what I want to do with my little tick mark, and also they're inset a little bit too. There's a little space. In fact, there's a big space from the bottom, and then it's really close to the edge at the top. So I might favor this like that. I might adjust the height a little bit to make the height a little bit smaller. Maybe not the height. Maybe the what I'm looking at is the yeah, it's the width. I'll make the length rather, the length a little bit shorter. There we go. So I'll move that close up there. Once I've got that positioned, in the spot that I'd like it in, which right now it's lined up. Uh, Now let me be careful about this. Uh, if I move this thing to 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, then I would move it out this way, and y becomes about and let's see. I don't want to change x. I want x to stay at 0. Z, bring that up till it pops through. There we go. Now it's popped through. And move it back in y. I want it near the edge. Near the edge. There we go. So looking at this thing, it's lined up with x. The x position is 0. The y position, I moved it away from the x-axis, so it's moved out in y, and it's also moved up in z. But I'm going to be rotating this thing around. I believe it's going to be rotating around the z-axis. But by having that x position set, I'm going to be able to go exactly 30 degrees. I'm going to go 30 degrees with each rotation. Because 12 times 30 is 360. So if I make 11 more copies of these at 360, they're all going to get made. They're all going to get copied nice and put in place. Now, let me look at something here. Those are a silverish color. So as long as I'm here, let me get the material editor. And this color that's going to be what I'm using for silver, I'm just going to apply it to that tick mark. And now if I take a look at the tick mark, yeah, it's coming together. It's got the kind of look I want. But the tick mark itself, if I zoom in on it, it it's always square sharp edges. So I'm going to right click it and I'm going to convert it to an editable poly. Now it's an editable poly. The box is gone. It's gone forever. And I'm going to get turn that move tool off. The 4 edges around the top. Let me get those 4 edges. I got those 4 edges around the top. Then I'm going to click on the chamfer menu, and the chamfer is probably going to, nope, it's not going to remember. I want at least 4 edges, and let me put that back at 0, and then just hit the tick mark. There we go. Yeah, nice. Let me see. Yeah, I'll take it. I'll hit the check mark on that. Good. Turn off the edges. So now I just have the editable poly. And I'm going to get the, now, so I want to talk about pivot points. For that editable poly right now, if I get the, like the rotate tool, the pivot point for that object is centered on the object. Any of these tools, move tool, rotate tool, scale tool, they're all centered on that object. That's called their pivot point. Now, over here on the hierarchy tab, let me get the move tool. On the hierarchy tab, if I click on the hierarchy tab, I'm able to affect the pivot. So I'm going to click this button that says affect pivot only. And I'm going to zero that pivot out in Y. So I'm going to drop the Y value down to 0. Just leave that Y value down at 0. And then I'm going to turn off affect pivot only. Now that pivot is out there. If I were to move this thing around, it would move relative to wherever I'm moving that pivot. I don't want to move that pivot. Same thing if I rotate it. If I rotate it, it will move relative to that pivot. See how I'm rotating it out here and it's moving relative to the pivot? So here's where I'm going to clone it. I'm going to press and hold down the shift key. And with the shift key held down, I'm going to, on this yellow bar, rotate it out 30 degrees, and I got it rotated 30 degrees. I'll release the mouse and the shift key, and I'll tell it to make an instance, and I'll tell it to make 11 of these. Make 11 of these copies. I want them to be instances. And I'll click OK. And bam, the rest of that just got made for me. Let me go ahead and hit the render button. Yep, it's beginning to look a lot like that knob. Lastly, for the knob to wrap it up, it's got this piece right here. And this piece, it looks like we can definitely start it off as a box. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to build a box, and I'll build the box off to the side. And then I will switch to the modify tab and knobs. Turn. Call it the turn knob, whatever. Give it a name. And then my turn knob, I'm going to go ahead and center that at 0, 0, 0. And then I'm going to move it up, realizing that, well, let me change my height from negative to positive. There we go. Now I got a positive height. I want it to stick through the top a little bit, I believe. Yep, it sticks through the top. And not only that, now there's going to be some tooling on this. Let's pull this over so I can refer to this image while I look at this image. So I got that right there. Oops, grab the wrong thing. Pull that back out here so I can see that. Zoom on this so I can get a nice look at that. I can even well, I don't want to rotate it quite like that. But let's see here, looking at it from the side. It's tilted. It's kind of angled up right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert this box to an editable poly. I'll right click it, convert it to an editable poly. And then I'm going to get its vertices. And I want to grab the 2 vertices here and the 2 vertices here. I should have 4 vertices selected. I'm going to get the scale tool, and I'm just going to scale them in Y. I'm just pulling them in the Y axis. I got them scaled in Y. All right. Next, what I want to do is I want to round some edges. So for rounding these edges, I'm going to pull this thing out. Oops. Let me turn off the vertices. I'm going to pull it out of there for just a moment. I'm going to click on Edge and select, turn off that Move tool. Those 4 edges, come around here. These 4 edges, I should have 8 edges selected. I do have 8 edges selected. And I'm going to turn on the chamfer tool, and chamfer will blow it up, but that's okay. We'll run this up to 4, and then I will slowly start clicking to see that I'm getting that rounded edge. I'm getting the chamfer on there. I'm getting that rounded edge. All right. And then, yeah, so we Control Z twice. There we go. I like that. I'll take that. Then I'm going to click on this edge and open the chamfer menu up, and let's see. It appears to not be handling it well. It seems to be forcing it in. Let me close that out. Let me pick up that bit right there. I did not want these 2. The Alt key, holding the Alt key down lets me deselect those. Just this edge. Let me see what happens if I chamfer that. Much nicer. Oh, there we go. That's a lot better. I'll take it. I'll take it. It looks good. Let me do the same thing to the other side. So I want to click this one. Let me double click it. Ooh, yeah, I double clicked it. I got the whole thing. Cool. Double clicked it. Hit the chamfer menu again. It's beautiful. I'll accept the settings. Very happy with how that button has turned out. Very quickly, I pulled this off. And I'll push this. Oops, Booth, you messed up. You had those edges selected. Deselect those edges. And I'm going to push that back down into the button. And let me look at something else here. This thing needs to be made a little bit longer. It's supposed to stick through. Get the move tool. All right. I'm happy with it. Very happy with it. All right. The last thing I want to do here with the material editor, paint. That thing is in the color of the dark color. So I'll paint it black, the whole thing. And now let me see how this is looking. Very nice. Okay. Oh, I know what happened. Because I squeezed my window here, I lost track of where that icon was at. All right. So now, before I do anything else here, this knob is now made out of a whole lot of little pieces. A lot of little pieces. I've painted them all. I'm going to select all those little pieces that make up my knob. And I'm going to group them together in a group called bottom knob. So it's the bottom knob group. And I'm going to right click and unhide all so everything comes back. And I suddenly realized that, hey, I left that bottom knob. I left it at the bottom of the TV here. I got to move it out. I need to get the rotate tool. And I need to rotate that whole knob 90 degrees. And then I need to grab this move tool and got to bring it to the front, the side, up, and into the face of the TV. There we go. Too far. All right. And then is that kind of, yeah, in the center of that in the front? Okay, good. Now with that there, I'm going to hold my shift key down and copy out another clone. And I'll make it an instance, and I'll call this one top knob. Top knob. There we go. Now let's see how my TV is looking. I've got my knobs. They're looking pretty good. I've got knobs on my TV. All right, done with knobs. Man, I'm going to be done with this soon. Thanks.